Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Feel free to write to me at walkwithtak@gmail.com if you have any question regarding this video or any other video that I have posted in the past. If you have any videos that you think you would like me to make, please let me know. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. My wife loves salmon. When I start to work out a salmon recipe, I have the following criteria in mind. Number one is that I would like to cook a small amount of salmon at a time to use it as a condiment rather as a main dish. That's what she would like me to do. And number two, I would like to cook the salmon to its perfect texture. That's slightly crispy on the outside, but soft and moist inside the salmon. And number three, I would like to cook the salmon skin as well, so that the skin can create a crispy texture that coats the surface of the salmon to make it a truly delightful culinary experience. And number four, I would like to cook some vegetable with the salmon as well in some type of a stir-fry dishes. And I work on it for about a couple of years, and this is the result that I have achieved. And certainly, I think I now have a very receptive audience. My wife really enjoyed the salmon that I cook. In fact, she told me that she would never order salmon out again, which she used to do. And now she said my salmon is better than anywhere she would be able to find. And I think the reason is simple, because I designed this salmon specifically to please her palate. I cooked this salmon in my Cuisine 14-inch stainless steel wok. It is really a combination between stir-frying and shallow frying. And I start out with 2 tablespoons of canola oil. Now, one of the important things in cooking this salmon is that I want the oil as hot as possible. The reason is that the first step in cooking the salmon, I want to be able to sear the salmon because I'm going to cook the salmon with the skin side down. So searing the salmon is truly important because that will seal in the flavor. And secondly is that I want to be able to cook this on the wok that I do not have any problem of the salmon sticking to the surface. So spot season the wok is very important. So before I start cooking the salmon, I will heat up the oil until it starts to smoke gently. And I turn the heat down until it smokes for about 10 to 15 seconds. And I then turn the heat back up to high to the highest setting. I place the salmon with skin side down on the surface of the wok. I cut the salmon into such a way that each piece are pretty much even in thickness. And by cutting them smaller, not only I'm able to control the thickness of the salmon, but at the same time, it will allow me to cook them much faster. I usually purchase salmon when they're on sale in bulk, and after I bring them home, I will cut them up into this size, and then I will freeze them in the Ziploc sandwich bag like I will freeze other proteins in my advanced prepping, and then I will freeze them in the freezer. By cutting them in this type of size, which make them easier to thaw out, so I can put them in a bowl of lukewarm water, and usually I will thaw them out in about 10 minutes. So basically, I can go from the freezer to the wok in about 10 minutes for cooking salmon, which is a very convenient way to do it. I use the shallow frying method to fry the salmon, particularly to fry the side of the salmon with the skin on. This will allow me to specifically control how I want to fry the salmon. This method is truly exceptional from many standpoints. The first and foremost is that I can focus on which part of the salmon that I want to fry. And equally important is that it is very time efficient. I can fry a whole piece of salmon after I cut them up into these pieces a fraction of time if I have fried the entire piece of salmon. And you might ask the question is that, would this affect the quality of the salmon? The answer is that it's just the opposite. Instead of having the salmon cook unevenly, because quite often when you have the entire piece of salmon, the thickness of the salmon is not the same, so the thick part of the side might be undercooked, whereas the thinner section of the salmon will be overcooked. In this method, you have much better control of each individual pieces of salmon. Using this method, you will notice that the skin of the salmon now fry into a crispy texture, and that makes the skin taste absolutely wonderful. Next, I add about 1 cup of portobello mushroom to the wok, and you can use any mushroom that you would like. I cut the mushroom into thin slices. This is followed by 1 cup of asparagus. Both of these ingredients require very short time to cook. In fact, by the time when I finish cooking the salmon, those ingredients will be also properly cook. Now the portobello mushroom plays a very important role because notice that at the bottom of the wok there's a lot of oil. Some of the oil are vegetable oil that I add to the wok before I start the frying process, but the other oil actually come from fat which underlie the skin of the salmon. When I fry the skin of the salmon, some of the fat was driven out and leaked into the surface of the wok. Now the mushroom play a very important role because mushroom absorb oil readily. This turned out to be a great strategy because the oil is high in omega-3 fatty acid, which is present in the salmon, and it has great nutritional value. The last ingredients that I'm going to add is some cherry tomatoes. This come from my wife's garden. I do not want to cook the cherry tomato that much, so that's why I add it right at the end. But as you can see, everything that I add to the wok for cooking this dish, they all cook very quickly, the mushroom, the asparagus, and the cherry tomatoes. So with a quick few stir, the dish is ready. And now I'm going to season the dish with a combination of oyster sauce and hoisin sauce, which is my standard seasoning strategy, and it worked out really well for this dish as well. And I use the ratio of 2 parts of oyster sauce to 1 part of hoisin sauce. Again, quite often I make changes accordingly depending on how I feel like, and this is really part of the flavor chasing process. I constantly make adjustments to find the flavor I like for a particular dish. The last thing I'm going to add is some Shaoxing wine. You notice that I use the wine actually as a way to season the dish as well as to clean the wok because there are some of the sauces stuck to the bottom surface of the wok. I just put the wine right over it and I use the wok spatula to detach them. I add the wine way at the end because this will provide the best flavor for the wine. And I use a Chinese wine known as Shaoxing wine. You can use almost any wine that you would like. The Shaoxing wine will give a very nice flavor to the dish. It's really designed specifically for stir frying, and it might be interesting for you to give it a try. But if you have some red wine, that will work as well. Okay, now the dish is done, and the total cook time is only about just 7 minutes. It's extremely efficient to cook this dish. In many ways, this dish represents the approach of a combinatory cooking, which I combine the meat together with the vegetables. I cook the salmon first because the salmon takes a longer time to cook. But before the salmon is fully cooked, I add the vegetable to it, which is the mushroom and the asparagus. This will buffer the temperature of the wok, and so it will allow you to cook the salmon more slowly, and this way there's a much better chance that you will not overcook the salmon. A lot of people are afraid to cook salmon because they worry about they either overcook or undercook salmon. Quite often most people cook salmon, either they pan fry it in a frying pan or they might bake it in the oven, or occasionally that people put it on a grill. Using any of those methods, there's always a likelihood that you will either overcook or undercook the salmon because quite often the salmon, as I mentioned earlier, come in a piece that are uneven in thickness. And it's quite often the thick part of the salmon may be undercooked, whereas the thin part of the salmon is undercooked. Using this method, you can have full control of the cooking process by visually able to examine the progress, and consequently, you will be able to cook it in a much more precise doneness as you would like to. This method has actually a wide margin of error. Most likely you will cook a piece of salmon exactly how you like it. So I would recommend you to give it a try if you enjoy salmon. I post a video each day to help you to make home cooking as part of your daily routine using my fast cooking system, which will help you to make home cooking practical, efficient, creative, and fun. If you would like to learn more about my fast cooking system, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. So keep on cooking. I will see you tomorrow.